My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless podcast. This is what's coming up.
Since I'm like a sickle cell anemia, like I have sickle cell anemia, a sickler, like we used to have labs every morning. And now if you don't have a card, you have to run. If you don't have a card from a doctor, you have to run. And it was like 3 to 2 labs, a very huge field. And I was like, I can't do this. And you know the teachers are running behind you guys with a cane, that Bunsen burner. I used to get there, and I used to tell my mom, you know what, I can't survive in this school. The next time you're going to come for me, I'm a dead corpse.
That is part 2 of Jeanette's story. We're going to be jumping into it in a bit. I do have one thing to share before we jump into part 2 though. So, oh my goodness, where are my manners? Goodness. First and foremost, if you're an OG member, you know I have love for you and you know my bad manners here. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the family. We're all about African women here, African women's stories and healing and just all around good stuff. And we have a couple of shows. So this show goes out every single Monday. It has different Africans come on, share stories of their lived experiences. And then on Wednesday, we have the Midweek Teas where I unpack different topics that I think could be very helpful, especially for African women on healing journeys. Our newsletter also goes out every Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe to it. Just go to our website. A link to that is in the show notes. And on Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women. It's a seasonal show. We've just wrapped season 4, and it has incredible women who come on and help you be mannerless, which by our definition is you being your youest you. Make sense? Great. So wherever you're listening to this on, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on all the good stuff we put out for you. Okay, what I needed to tell you, which I was meant to tell you last week, and I completely forgot. So it has everything to do with For Mannerless Women. We wrapped season 4. In case you have not caught up with the show, head over to our YouTube channel to watch it. But we love to make this space about you and I. So whilst in-house, we know the women that we want on every season, we like to hear your thoughts as well. And we allow you to nominate yourself as well. Don't have to be a celebrity. Don't have to be a public figure or whatever. This is a space for all women to own. So if you go to our Instagram page and our TikTok page, you can nominate yourself or nominate a woman you would love to see on the next season of For Mannerless Women. Just go to our pages. You will see the post that prompts you to comment the woman you want to nominate and encourages you to nominate yourself as well. This season 4, we had Miss Mandy nominate herself when we did this after the end of season 3. In season 3, I remember Stephanie, who is the incredible fitness coach. She's helped me on my weightlifting journey, and she nominated herself. The previous season, before that, season 2, we had Philgona, who's just incredible, love her to bits, nominate herself. And I'm sharing all this just to show that we do not ignore those who nominate themselves. We actually try and work you in to our programming, right? Obviously, every season has 10 episodes, so we can only have 10 women per season. But go ahead and nominate yourself. I am of the belief that women especially need to learn how to shoot their shots, how to put themselves out there and how to talk their shit. You know what I'm saying? Because we're often just told to be like, humble and If you know you're mannerless and you deserve to be in the show, why are you not telling us? So go ahead and do that. That's what I needed to remind you. I was meant to tell you this last week and it just completely slipped my mind when I was talking to you. Anyway, so there you have it. So let's jump into part 2 of Jeanette's story. If you've not listened to part 1, it's in your best interest that you listen to the previous episode, because if not, you're just going to be floating. But where we left off, Jeanette had made it into high school. and she was carrying with her messages that told her she wasn't good enough, right? So these were things that the teachers had told her, the school system and how it's set up. And they had already made her believe that her future was already decided and she wasn't going to amount to anything. Now, in part two, Jeanette shares how those beliefs impacted her mental health. I have to give a trigger warning. Suicidal themes do come up. So, in case that is not something you can interact with right now, you might want to give this episode a skip. But she does talk about her mental health, her self esteem, and ultimately how she found her way back to herself. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
The only subject good in was English, home science, and maybe a little bit of Kiswahili. Let's just say Kiswahili. Yeah, the rest down the drain. So in Form 2, we are now doing we were choosing subjects, and our business teacher was like, for those who get 50% and below, you're not going to be in my class. I don't know where you're going to be. Even if you want to hang, just hang. I don't know. Just don't be in my class. Okay, you go to home science class. The home science teacher is like, those who get 50 and below and 60 and below, please don't come to my class after you choose these subjects and you're going to do these exams. It's going to determine if you're going to stay or not. You go to physics, the same. And I'm like, where am I going to be? The business teacher ashatufukuza. Physics, ndiye tushafukuzwa. Oh no, we're not supposed to choose chemistry. Home science, the Ethiopia. I was not doing music or French, so I decided let me just choose one to work hard on, and I chose home science, and that's when I got to do home science and history. I was not also good in history and geography, so the same thing the business teacher and the physics teacher said is the same thing the history and the geography teacher said. So I had to choose only two to work hard on, and I said home science and history, and that's how I got to choose home science and history. That was Form 2. Form 3, everything was okay. Oh, by the way, since I'm like a sickle cell anemia, I have sickle cell anemia, a sickler, we used to have labs every morning, and now if you don't have a card, you have to run. If you don't have a card from a doctor, you have to run, and it was 3 to 2 labs, a very huge field. And I was like, I can't do this. And the teachers are running behind you guys with a cane, that Bunsen banner. I used to get them. Wow. And I used to tell my mom, you know what? I can't survive in this school. The next time you're going to come for me, I'm a dead corpse. Oh, I'm a corpse. I'm a corpse. And she was like, no, we have to do something about that. And now we had to take a letter from the doctor. And now that's when I stopped going for such labs. And then another highlight in high school, they used to call me the most prettiest girl in high school. I'm like, oh guys, thank you. And my hair was so cute. And then my dad came and said, you know what? You're now in high school. This hair is going to distract you. You don't plait your hair. You just go with your hair like that. You have to shave. And I shaved down my hair. I felt so bad. I went back to school and people were like, oh, Jeanette, you're so disappointed in you. Why did you shave your hair? And I was just there now what did I say? Actually, I'd say my time in high school, a mixture of fun, discouraging, just different type of feeling. The thing that's made me feel like I'm hating teachers the more in high school is actually the part that I wanted to go to next. So in Form 3, we used to do our exams. Now that is where I used to get 0.3% in maths, chemistry, biology. And I'd go to a point where I'm just I'm not even excited to come and see my marks because I know already it's the usual. So the teachers used to cane us. In CRE, we used to be caned. Actually, if there's a time I've been caned the most in my life, it's high school. We were caned. And then we got to a point in Form 4. And now this is why this is a part that really made me hate teachers the more. So we did our exam in Form 4 the first term, and they said in Form 4 we are going to divide you in different classes. I don't even remember how those classes were called. I don't know if it was blue, yellow, green. I don't remember. But they used to say from number 1 to number 70, you go to the same class. From number 71 to number 140, you go to the same class. And then now it's like the smart people to be in the same class, and then the rest to be in the other class, right? So you see, the rest, we used to be in class. Actually, now to think of it, to come to think about it, those people who are used in the number 1 to number 70, their classes used to be next to the staff room. And then for us, our classes used to be next to the deputy's office. And the deputy was so strict. So we used to be separated like that, like we be in the same class. It's just the same scenarios in primary. I thought like I left such scenarios, but not to come to high school. At least there are some teachers who are willing to help, and some are not even willing to help. Like some people might feel like they're just so discouraged, like they can't help such people, like you guys are too slow or something like that. So I just used to be on myself, on my own. And I didn't mention that my parents actually started paying for my tuition from Form 2. Yeah. From Form 2 till Form 4, they used to pay for my tuition. And I think that tuition really helped because the teachers who are tutoring us, I had that for 3 guys, 2 girls and 1 guy who are in the same tuition. And I feel like the teachers who were tutoring us, they were so nice, understanding, and ready to help. And that's when I got to develop at least an attitude towards other subjects. And when I go to school and someone wants to help me, like a teacher, I'd feel so scared to go because what if you want to help me? But again, you see, like I'm slow, and then when you leave me, I'd feel so bad. So I was scared. So when I was in school, I would just study on my own. I also don't like group work because you do less, but the most of the time there you just make stories. So I prefer being on my own. I study. When I go back home during the holidays, that's when I get to even study more because of the tuition. There's a time I fought. Actually, it was my birthday. And this is the last, and I was turning 18. The worst part. You turn 18 in high school, your deputy already told your parents you're a grown woman. You don't deserve to celebrate your birthday with your parents every day, every year in school. So that time, we were doing our chores like in school, cleaning the compound, picking the leaves. And then there's this prefect who asked for a broom, and I told her, like, the broom is not mine. When I'm done with it, I'm going to return it to the owner, so you can ask the owner for it. And actually this prefect was like my desk mate, but behind. So uh she said, "Oh, you're so selfish with a broom." And like, I'm not even selfish. This broom is not mine. And you just know the drama in high school where if you give out a broom that's not yours, and then the owner will come to you and ask you, "Oh, where's my broom? Go look for my broom." And that's not the drama I wanted. So this girl, she was just so rowdy. So out of nowhere, she starts abusing me. And I'm that type of a person. I don't want to associate with drama. So I just left her abusing me there. And now it got to a point I was so pissed off. Like I could not control my temper. My patience was just like, enough is enough. I cannot do this. I took my water that was in my cup. I was going to brush my teeth and I poured it on her. And she came to me and dragged me with my shirt, and she wanted to slap me. And at that point, I'm actually also trying to fight back. And when I went back home and told my parents this story, and they were like, "We are so proud of you." But that day, I spent the whole day crying because I could not believe that is how my birthday started. My 18th birthday started. It was not the way I wanted it to start. Yeah, she actually spoiled my 18th birthday. But you know what? Again, I know I've said this a lot, so many times. Have supportive parents. My parents are like, don't worry, when you're done with school, your 19th birthday is going to be the best. And actually, it was. Until then, I just wish I could go back to being 19 because I had the best birthday in the whole world because of my parents. Okay, so now transitioning fast forward to university. But before I go to that, you see, when I was in high school, the the teachers used to determine like where you would go to, like which university you'd go to with your marks. And at that point, I felt like I won't even make it to better schools with such marks. And now, when people used to say the type of universities they want to go to, you'd hear people say they want to go to Kenyatta University, UON. I was just there, I'm like, oh, you guys, that is so cute. But as for me, I'm there like, ah, the chemistry teacher said these chemistry marks are not going to take me to university, so whatever. So, when I got my results in KCSC, I was so shocked and so happy. I was never that happy before. I could not even believe it. I got a C plane. If not a C plane, I think it's a C plus. I'm not sure. So I was just home with my younger sibling and I got the results. And my mom called me and she asked me, what are your results? And I told her, it's a C plane. C plane, I don't remember. And she was so happy. She started screaming. And I told my dad, and he was also happy. And then my mom came back home and she just packed. You know, my mom is that kind of a mother. When she comes, she will just stay in the car for a while and make some calls and then carry her bags and go back to the house, right? Go inside the house. But this day, we opened the gate for her because we are always the ones opening the gate for her. And she just got out of the parked the car. She didn't even park. She just found a place and stopped the car and got out of the car and started hugging me. And I'm like, oh, cute. And she even cried. I'm like, so cute. And my dad was also happy. Oh my god, nimesahau please ya suicide. While I was in Form 2. Where? While I was in Form 2, I actually had suicidal thoughts because I felt like my marks are not going to take me anywhere. Like I'm so tired of my marks. So in second term, when I went back home for the holiday, I wrote a letter to my parents telling them how I'm so sorry, I'm a disappointment to them. I don't understand why I get such marks and my siblings used to get good marks in high school and I just want to be like them but I can't and I'm so sorry. And my mom and my dad discussed about that. And I think like my mom was not able to talk to me about that letter. And she told she told my dad now to talk to me because I think like my dad is strong. And then my dad talks to me and he told me like my marks did not define me and I'm going to do a better job and I'm going to do a good thing in high school and I'll come out with good grades. And when he was telling me that, I was just like, do you even know what you're talking about? I've been having bad marks since primary. I'm now in high school and you're telling me the same thing you've been telling me in primary. It was just like enough is enough, man. So we went back to school that term in Form 2. We did our exams. And during that time, I had like that feeling I'm going to do my best in this exam. And then the results came out, and I was so disappointed. The way I worked hard to get like at least better marks, I felt so disappointed. And since, like I mentioned, I have sickle cell anemia and I have like medicine, I have a medication for every day. So I went to the sick bay just like a normal day, and I took 10 tablets, 10 tablets from different medicine that I have. Like there's one called folic acid, I took 10 of that. And then another one called hydroxyurea, I took 10 of that. So in total, that was 20. So I said, this is my last day. Like I already sent a letter to my parents and they told me they're not disappointed, but I know deep down they are. But they're not. Actually, they were not. And so I said, I'm just going to commit suicide. And it actually, my intrusive thoughts actually won. And at night, when we were going to sleep, I took the medicine and I said, I prayed my last prayer and I said, you know what? The next time my parents are seeing me, they're going to come and take me as a corpse, take me home. And I took the medicine, went to sleep. Before I even realized, I'm hearing people pushing like the basins and the buckets, and people are running, the doors are being banged. And I'm like, is this how heaven is? I was so shocked. Like, what? I opened my eyes and I see people are ready to go take a shower. And the matron is like, you know, our dormitory was like iron sheet. Our nini was just an iron sheet, and then inside the dormitory there was like the cardboards. Yeah. So you could hear the matron heating the iron sheet outside, and I'm like, what are all these chaos for? So I also woke up and did my things faster, went to shower, went to take a shower. And at that time I was taking a shower, I was still in disbelief. I could not believe it. It was just like, really, God? Really? So I went back to class and imagine I was just normal. Everything was okay. I was not having any headache, any symptoms, like everything was just okay. And that's when I came to realize maybe God has a plan for me. That's why He decided, like, you're not going anywhere. Your time is not here yet. And I've actually never told my parents this story. I don't know how they'd react. But, anyways, I actually had that suicidal thoughts, and my intrusive thoughts won. So I was done with high school. I got a C plus, and I was so a C plane. I don't know. I was so happy. So my parents were helping me to find a university, and now I went to JQuat. I did my diploma for communications. Do you know when you grow up, you're asked like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I used to say that I want to be an air hostess, but once I got my results, I was so blank. Like I was just like, whatever God wants me to do, I'm gonna do that. So I settled with communications, and I don't even remember how I settled to that, but I don't regret doing communications. It's actually the best. Yeah, I love it. And I did my 2 years in JQuat. It was great. I actually feel like in university, the lecturers are so nice. They're ready to help. They encourage everyone. There's no favoritism. Like it's just a nice environment to study. And once I was done with my diploma in university in JQuat, I now transitioned to Daystar, a very good school, and I was doing my PR. Like in diploma, I did mass communications, which covers almost everything in communication. And then in Daystar, now I chose public relations. And I feel like from all these journey, primary, high school, university, I feel like actually we all have a purpose in this life, and your marks should not define you. You could be getting or D. But imagine you'd be even a better person than that someone who has an A. Because right now, what I don't want to say I'm bragging, but if I look at myself right now and differentiate myself with some of the favored classmates that I had, I'm actually doing much better than they are right now. And I'd say it's just God's grace, God's favor. And I'm just so happy. A few days ago, we were having a conversation with my family, my mom, my dad, and my siblings, and they were saying how proud they are of me. And I was just like, oh man, in that graduation that I'm going to have like in a few months, I wish I could have the contacts to my primary and high school teacher and just invite them in my party and just have that speech moment and just tell them how they made me feel in primary and in high school and ask them, I know you never thought I'd be here. Like, look at me now. I'm even earning more than what you guys earn. I can pay your rent na change you baki. And my parents are like, you you're such a savage. But I'm like, yeah. They made me feel like I'm not even going to make it in life. And because of all that, all the things that I went through in primary and high school from one, that is actually the main reason as to why I was almost committing suicide. Not almost. I committed suicide, but it was not successful. And I feel like God had a purpose why He did not want me to go at that time. Because if I look back, I'm so grateful and I still can't believe it's me because my at 13-year-old me could not believe it that I'm actually now a CEO. I have worked in good organizations and I do social media managing and I'm just like this is me. I can't believe it. When I say I'm a CEO, I feel like I'm a CEO in an events company. Like I do events, picnics, birthdays, graduations, deco, and I'm just happy to be where I am right now. And the hate that I had for the teachers, it's still there, but I'm still try. It's still there, but I'm trying to get rid of that and just love them for who they are. Because if it were not for them, I would not be here. Yeah. And sometimes I just wish I could see them and just tell them, you know where I am right now in life? Wali mama at somebody happy. Like I'm doing much better. And honestly, if you would ask that 10 or 15-year-old me where I would be in life, I would be so blank and just tell you, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just stay at home with my parents. But right now, I'm doing a lot. And I'm being in spaces where I never imagined I would be. Yeah, I'm so proud of myself and I'm so grateful to God. I would just like to say that I know most people are actually going through such moments in life where you feel like you're not doing your best and you're not going to be any good in this life. But one thing I could say is that from all that journey that I've been through, is that God actually has a plan. And when He created you, He had a purpose as to why He created you. And your marks, whatever is going through in your life right now, should not define you. Your failures should not define you. Actually, failure is just the beginning to success. Yeah. And don't give up. I actually gave up, but now I see why God told me not to give up. because I'm loving it. Yeah.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. What an incredible story, and so timely, hey? It's crazy because we did not plan it this way. And I say timely because of the conversations happening in Kenya. For those of you who are outside of Kenya, we're having a lot of our high school boarding schools. The kids have unrest, and the wave, and I'm calling it a wave because it's this is not the first time. It's been happening before. In protest, kids would burn their dormitories or parts of their schools. And it's crazy because when I was on traditional radio, which was between 2010 to 2020 or 2019 rather, we used to talk about this schools being burnt maybe every 2 years. Every 2 years, something like this would be happening. Unfortunately, this time around, there was one school where there were very many casualties. But it does speak to a deeper problem. And I think we're very reactive and deal with the symptoms, but we don't get down to the nitty gritty. Like, what is the cause? I'll go on a tangent for 2 seconds. And I don't know how verifiable this is, but there was a school, and I read it in one of my residents' forum, that had unrest, and the kids were sent home. And so in the forum, one of the parents shared what they were being told by their child was the issue. And some of the issues, I was like, they should not be dealing with this. This is a failure of the system, of the school, and of the adults in the room, including how we vet teachers. Because one of the issues was like the teacher, there was a male teacher who was calling the kids all sorts of like prostitutes, and in Kiswahili, the students who had taken art versus those who took STEM. So the art students were feeling like they were facing bullying from their teachers who were telling them, just like in Jeanette's story, that they were not going to amount to anything. There was issues with their food. They hadn't had warm water for 3 months. Now, I live in Limuru, and for those of you who don't know, it is very cold here. I wouldn't even take a cold, bath or shower. Like, you know how bad it is? Like, I wash my dishes either in the afternoon in the warm season because my kitchen sink doesn't have hot water. So in the afternoon, because then I know the sun has hit my water tank, so the water is a bit bearable. But if you told me to wash dishes in the night, I'm like, you must be mad. And that's just my fingers. Now we're telling kids at the crack of dawn, in the coldest time of year, to shower with cold water. Are we crazy? Even the adults saying this wouldn't do that. And so there was an issue with the hot water, and they just hadn't fixed it, right? And there were other the other issue I was just like, oh my goodness. They had a funds drive for something. I'm not too sure what, and they had collected about 3 million, but the school only disclosed 2 million. Corruption. Like, you send your kid to school, but they're fighting. They have to fight against corruption. They have to fight against bullying from teachers. And so, like, it was like a probably 20-point thing. Those are the ones that I remember top of mind. But when we then have the unrest, and if it turns into a fire, I feel like we deal with the symptom and we don't go back to what is the issue. And then we don't have long-term solutions. Like, what does vetting of teachers look like? Or how can, is there a system in which, like how in schools, in workplaces, appraisals, and very progressive workplaces have this. Appraisals are both ways. So it's not just your boss appraising you. It is you appraising your boss as well, right? Because there are gaps on both sides. How do we get that for kids to get their true assessment of what their schooling experience is like? Because it matters, guys. It really matters. Children are whole beings. They're not projects. They are not grades. They're not rankings. They are not exam results. They are people. And so many of us grew up in environments where adults believed humiliation is synonymous with discipline. It is not. Or like shame was considered motivation. It is not. We grew up in environments where children were expected to just like absorb whatever was thrown at them and move on. No. And even just listening to Jeanette's story, I kept thinking about how many adults are still carrying wounds that were created in classrooms, a teacher's words. That teacher's words become the child's inner voice. That teacher's dismissal becomes, the source of a child's self-doubt. And on the flip side, the teacher's encouragement can become a child's confidence. That is how much power teachers have. And that's why I feel like this story, I think this is one of very few we've recorded like this. I seem to only remember 2 others, but then, we've recorded over 1,000 stories, so I can't really remember. But these stories matter. And we have to start questioning these school systems that have normalized harm, fear and humiliation and punishment, and we have to question, what good is this doing? And I hate how some millennials, so I didn't go to boarding school in Kenya, and it's because my late mom, I do not know what she went through, but she definitely went through something. She went to Alliance Girls High School here in Kenya, and I remember her saying, so matter-of-factly, none of my kids are going to go to boarding school. And she would not say why. You know what I mean? And so as much as I've not gone to boarding school, but I hear a lot of us saying, oh, we went to boarding school, or we were beaten, or we were this, and we're okay. Are we really okay? Are we really okay, guys? Are we? And why preserve things that maybe served a purpose at that time? Because maybe, I'm not convinced, but maybe we didn't know better. Now we know better. It's that statement of, when you know better, you do better. The goal of education is not obedience. Please. The goal, we want kids to lean into education with curiosity. I went through the Kenyan school system from kindergarten to class 7. And then I switched, when I moved countries, I switched to IGCSE. And all of a sudden, I liked school because my curiosity was welcomed. The way things were taught, I was now curious. And so school became more about learning and less about restriction and fear and punishment. Were there punishments? Of course, because we're teenagers. And so there were certain things you forget to do your homework here, etc. But I was curious. It's when I learned that I'm a poet, because my English teacher taught me with curiosity. And I was like asking and wondering. There was no wrong or right. You know what I mean? And then after IGCSE, I did IB. IB was so interesting because now you control your time. Exams, at the time that I went, I don't know if it's changed, exams didn't account for your entire end of diploma grade. There was presentations, there was community service, were you taking part in sports, giving back to the community in one way or the other? Were you being creative? There was a class called Theory of Knowledge, one of my favorite, and it encouraged you to question. And the exam for that was actually a presentation to a panel. And I remember my Theory of Knowledge presentation, I dressed up as a sex worker and a nun. So I had the hobbit and the nun's outfit, and underneath I had these what are they called? The fishnet stockings and a little, number. And I basically was presenting that there's very little difference between the two. And that class was just encouraging questioning and how you think about things, Can you think for yourself? Critical thinking. The goal of education is not obedience. To be honest, I think it's curiosity. Once we change how we view education, we'll start to remove shame will start to remove humiliation and fear from it. I truly think, on average, I'm not saying a kid's school life will be roses and no bath, but on average, a schooling experience should be enjoyable. What it definitely shouldn't be is traumatic. You know? Anyway, if you're listening to this and you're carrying words that were spoken to you by a teacher, by a parent, by a guardian, or anyone in authority, I really hope Jeanette's story lands and reminds you that those words do not get the final say on who you become. You do. Clearly, I feel so deeply about this. Anyway, if while listening to Jeanette's story, you are moved to want to share your story on this podcast, you very well can. And I really hope you do. You're African, you've got a story. We want to hear it. So in the show notes, there is a link. Fill it out. And one of our correspondents will get back to you. Speaking of correspondence, we have a brand new program. I can't believe I forgot to tell you. We launched it on Friday. If you've ever wanted to join the Legally Clueless Africa team, we've partnered with Her Way Studios, and they are our production partner for Mannerless Women. And we have a program to onboard more correspondents to Legally Clueless, to onboard more production specialists on Her Way Studios side. And what we're trying to do is to build the largest archive of African women's stories. So if you have ever wanted to join the team, if you've ever wanted to learn how to interview, how to record stories, how to edit, how to produce, and how to do it in a dignified, powerful way, sign up for our program. It's called Amplify Her. A link is in the show notes. The shortlisted candidates will go through training. Some will be absorbed into Legally Clueless Africa. Some will be absorbed into Her Way Studios. And we're looking for women of all ages. If you're listening to this and you are 50, 60 years old, apply. If you're listening to this and you are 20, 30, apply. All women are being called to this program. It's all hands on deck. It is time for us to archive African women's stories because they deserve to be remembered. Make sure you apply, because imagine you being on this team. That would be so wonderful. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very, very end. I truly appreciate you, and I believe that you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.